If you're still with us, listeners, we're in the deep end now because I think it gets to the point of, and we consider what happens when humans aren't at the top of the knowledge food train anymore. Food train? Food pyramid.
Food pyramids for nutritional advice.
Yeah, I know, but is it knowledge? Is it?
You're a bit low on your humans. You need a top up. You need some leafy greens.
Welcome to Adjunct Intelligence, the podcast that ensures you remain the human in the loop in the fast world of artificial intelligence and the potential impacts on higher education. It is the 5th week of May 2025. On today's episode, Talk is Cheap, an excellent piece from Danny Liu, Phil Dawson and Thomas Coleman that suggests the traffic light approach to AI in assessment isn't quite working. And we take a look at announcements from Google, Microsoft, Anthropic and more. My name is Dale Zinski, AI enthusiast, and I'm joined by Nick McIntosh, learning futurist. Nick, are you well? What a week of announcements. There's been so much happening.
Very well, thanks, mate. Yeah, and it's just been hectic, hasn't it? Microsoft, Google, the lot. Wow.
So let's get into the news. As you mentioned, Microsoft just wrapped up a big week with its annual Builds conference, where it usually talks to developers, but this year's announcements will affect all of us. The big message, Microsoft wants to make Windows the top platform for artificial intelligence, not just for techies, but for everyone. I sat through most of their keynote, and my takeaway are Microsoft will be more open, more AI, and perhaps more spicy. They're promising to make their technology more open, like open source, build AI into more parts of Windows, so soon features powered by AI will pop up in the apps and tools that we use every day, particularly those development tools. And those development tools are going open source. This allows for increased interoperability. All in all, it just tells me that Microsoft is very serious about agents and, to be honest, a whole army of them, echoing back to the Frontier Firm chat we had last week. We're going to talk more about agents in today's episode and some practical use cases for higher education. In a surprise move, Elon Musk actually joined the conference to announce that his AI, Grok, the flagship model from xAI, will now be available on Microsoft's cloud platform. Azure Foundry is the new title they've used, and plus one for Microsoft for finally naming something good. Alongside the other major AI models, Satya Nadella, who's the CEO of Microsoft, admitted that 30% of code is actually written by AI now in Microsoft, which really makes a lot of sense and kind of shows that whole why Microsoft's ambition is to be the go-to company for AI. And with the market cap topping $3 trillion, they're making a strong case of being the AI operating system for everyone. They're really putting their money where their mouth is. Let's pause on Microsoft and have a look at Google, because Nick, I know you're completely fanboying out with all the stuff that they announced this week at their I/O conference. We've got a deep dive later on with some of their announcement, but give us the headlines.
Yeah, look, guilty as charged. I'm an enormous Google fanboy, and they kicked off what they're calling Gemini season, a whole suite of tools, AI tools poised to reshape how we work, how we live. Standouts include things like deep research agents that integrate with your own personal files. They're talking about something that can, in time, not yet, but in time, dig through your entire Google Drive and Gmail, everything. Canvas. We're talking about an AI that can transform reports into web pages, infographics, or podcasts. And standing here in Vietnam, something that really pricked my ears up, 45 different languages, okay, in terms of that interoperability of different people from all across the globe. Like this is the giant waking up, I really think, in terms of all of their interconnected ecosystem that they have. Beyond that, though, Creative AI got some major upgrades as well. Imagine 4 for smarter images, VO3, Dale, harking back to the Will Smith Spaghetti Index, like you're going to have to check that out if you haven't already.
It's a new benchmark.
Right? Like VO3 has talking video characters, Lyria 2 for music, flows for AI filmmaking. Some of this stuff is amazing. And it is not beyond the realm of possibility. We'll be looking at full-length feature AI-generated movies before too long. 2 developments particularly stand out for me, though. Project Astra is being tested to help low vision and blind users navigate the world. Just a reminder that the most profound impacts of AI might be in leveling playing fields that some of us didn't even realize were uneven. The new Synth ID detector going to be identifying AI-generated content across all media formats, just sort of acknowledging that reality that we're now living in an era where distinguishing the real from the artificial requires an AI of its own. Biggest thing maybe though might be Android XR. So these are lightweight all-day AI glasses that see your world, hear your questions, and feed you information through optional displays. Live demos demonstrated real-time translation, instant object recognition, and it's a sci-fi future, just arriving quietly through your eyewear, promising to make the entire world searchable and instantly explainable. But obviously there's a catch here, right? We're trading convenience for constant surveillance. AI integrated into every browser tab, search personalized through your private emails, smart glasses watching your and others' every move. Right? We are entering to live inside of a Big Brother experiment writ large. The technology is undeniably impressive, but we're about to find out what happens when privacy becomes a luxury good.
Ooh, spooky. And we've seen similar offerings, and we'll see similar offerings from Meta, and apparently Apple's also working on a similar product. So it seems that we're all going that way, but I wonder what it'll play like when we start to ask these questions. Let's get a bit more happy and bright when we look at Reid Hoffman. Everyone who knows the name, he's a VC, he's ex PayPal Mafia, he's co founder of LinkedIn, and one of the original OpenAI investors. He's a rich guy, and on balance, he's one of the good ones, in my opinion. And he's been really optimistic about AI right throughout. And he's been asking what could possibly go right with our AI future, which is also the title of his new book called Super Agency. He's been speaking at the London School of Economics and Political Science recently, where he resides as a visiting fellow. It's kind of a real different narrative that speaks to abundance, to cancer cures, and all the things we want to achieve with AI. And it's a real breath of fresh air from the kind of doomsday paperclip making scenarios we've heard in other spaces. He calls this period the cognitive industrial revolution. But we only get to the revolution through transparency, iteration, and keeping equity at the front and center.
And in another chapter in Universities Dealing with AI in Classroom Assessments, a new paper by Thomas Corbin, Phil Dawson, and Danny Liu argues that maybe we're fighting the wrong battle entirely. In Talk is Cheap, Why Structural Assessment Changes Are Needed for a Time of Gen AI, the authors critique traffic light systems that label assessments as no AI, limited AI, or full AI, calling them out as fundamentally flawed. Problem is, they argue that these rules are completely unenforceable, and they create what the authors are calling an enforcement illusion. Real traffic lights work because there are cameras and police to catch violators. Educational AI policies, borrowing the traffic light metaphor, have no real way to actually detect violations because AI detection technology, it simply isn't reliable enough. Just as a quick aside here, this couldn't be truer, by the way. I mean, this approach, this search for an AI Turnitin has been going on since the emergence of ChatGPT, 2023, 2022 even. And look, if you're late to this place, I've got to tell you, there is no such thing. Anyone who tells you that they have a reliable AI detector is either A, trying to sell you something, or admittedly B, might know something that I don't. Okay, but I'm not holding my breath. It's been a long time coming, and if there is a solution to this, I really want to know. At the moment, it's the easiest thing though in the world really to gain kind of take-home assessments with AI. And so instead of more rules, the researchers propose that structural changes are needed as opposed to the discursive changes we've seen to assessments at date. Redesigning assessments so that inappropriate AI use becomes impossible by design.
So, Nick, what is the actual answer here? Is it more rules or something else?
Yeah, so the answer, the authors argue, instead of more rules, is structural changes are needed as opposed to the discursive changes to assessments we've largely seen to date. Redesigning assessments so that inappropriate AI use becomes impossible by design. Instead of changing the rules of how we play chess or name your game, do we instead
Hmm.
need a brand new game? But then at the same time, these changes come with trade offs because moving toward more supervised, process based assessment means smaller classes, more face to face time, higher costs. And that's not to mention the enormous problem of standardization across large cohorts of students, big numbers of assessors. And this is going in exactly the opposite direction many unis has been heading as they try to scale up and offer flexible on-demand online programs. Some institutions have been experimenting with these approaches even before AI came into the picture. Instead of traditional research papers, students might present their findings in real-time discussions, complete interconnected assignments where later work must build authentically on other verified student output. This is moving from evaluating only the final product to assessing the process of development. Bottom line from Corbin, Dawson, and Lowell seems to be unis need to stop trying to regulate AI use and start redesigning how they measure learning. As the authors put it, talk is cheap and it's time to change what we do, not just what we say about AI.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like we're having the right conversations about this. So, as much as we're concerned about students using AI, there has been examples of students being concerned of their professors using AI. And some particular students in Northeastern University filed a formal complaint and demanded her tuition be refunded after discovering that her professor was secretly using AI tools to generate notes. Rick Arrowwood acknowledged that he used various AI tools, including ChatGPT, the Perplexity AI search engine, and an AI presentation generator called Gamma. All tools in my AI kit, if I'm honest. Thoughts, Nick?
I'm a user of all of those as well. Gamma, I love and make a lot of use of from a time saving point of view. At the same time, though, I think the question is it's one of transparency as to how these things are being used. So what we're looking to do with these is save time so that we can then redirect that time to affect more positive changes in terms of, let's say, feedback, for example, for that student. What you can do with these things is instead of the rote work, the time sinks that so many academics would spend time on in terms of just the creation of slides and beautification and everything else, they can instead redirect towards that same student and hopefully at scale, offer some more direction, formative feedback to assist these students in getting a better outcome for their studies. So yeah, it's about transparency and just acknowledging the benefits that these things offer as well.
And more these it'll move to a place of people doing the things that they are can provide high impact and high value tasks. So one to keep an eye on. We always do a wrap up of new releases and new models, and there's two very exciting things. One on the horizon. First up, we got a brand new model from Anthropic's Claude with Claude 4. It's apparently super aligned, super good at coding, and initial tests say that it's a little quirky. In some testing scenarios, not normal usage, I need to really flag here, it was mentioned that it would whistleblow. It would dob you into the press or authorities if you were doing things that it felt were immoral, like faking data in pharmaceutical trials. Is this the answer to academic integrity? Probably not. We're going to bring you more insight on Claude 4 soon in a future episode once the dust settles. It's always a bit curly, particularly as people learn how to use these new models. Also, OpenAI, who has purchased Johnny Ive's company IO for a cool $6 billion. Johnny Ive was the design brains for what made Apple Apple. He can be given full credit for the design of the iPhone, the MacBook, and before he left in 2019, think aluminum, skeuomorphism, and the removal of USB and headphone ports. The announcement was a minute 30 of Johnny and Sam Altman from OpenAI walking around San Francisco admitting their love for each other, accompanied by what one tech journalist describes the New York Times wedding announcement photo. Cynicism aside, there's actually a lot of respect and mutual appreciation between these two, and there has been for a while. Why does it matter to the classroom? Because they're promising to bring a family of AI devices in 2026. And let's be honest, when Johnny coughed, much of the world got a cold. The iPhone was a key lieutenant in the smartphone revolution, something that rocked education. I'll give Johnny credit. His approach to design is so human, and if there's one thing that all these AI experiences are maybe missing at the moment, is good human-centered user experience. If they get it right, this could be game-changing for humans everywhere. This rumored screenless device is one I'll probably be pre-ordering as soon as there's a link.
Just one.
Yeah, I know. Nick, today I want to talk about agents. It's one of the AI buzzwords for 2025, but much like big data in the noughties, where everyone was saying they're doing big data, but really it was just pivot tables and giant Excel spreads that are a bit hard to open. I kind of wonder how many agents are really AI agents versus good old fashioned automated workflows. We have entered the era of AI agents, decrees Microsoft this week, and allegedly 90% of the Fortune 500 and a further 230,000 organizations are using Copilot Studio to build AI agents and automations. Nick, would you recognize a agent if you walked past one?
There's a bit of tinkering around here, but I mean, nothing full bore, as I understand you've got back in Australia. So I'm hoping you've got some good stories to share.
I'm going to explain AI agents so clearly the average person that you and me can pick one out when we walk past one. Plus, I'll give you a helpful framework that might even help you build your own. And some tips we can kind of borrow from agentic workflow, even if you're actually not ready to deploy an army of agents yet. Now, despite agents being mentioned every single press release and new piece of software somewhere, exactly what an agent is isn't actually a shared understanding yet. So let's talk about what it's definitely not. Large language models, or asking a chatbot to do something, that is not an agent, but the lines are blurring, I'll be honest. We're kind of all familiar with LLMs by now. They are your ChatGPTs, your Groks, your Claudes, your Geminis. They're incredibly broad purpose input output machines. You give instructions, they do the best to answer those instructions by producing deployable code, a response, or maybe an image. But they're fundamentally input, you ask, they answer. That's it, not agents. The next level up from this is AI workflows. Now, before the word agentic was in everyone's vernacular, we had a good old fashioned AI workflow, sometimes leveraging an LLM to get information from another source to produce an output. The simplest example of this, when your email app nudges you with a pre written reply, it's already got the deck attached, the meeting slot penciled in, maybe a task in your task app, because it's skimmed your message, it's rated your files, it's cross checked everyone's calendars, and it's served the whole package back to you. An educational example that I'm blueprinting lately looks at what happens when we pull data from late assignment submissions, pair it with some LMS engagement data, and send it through weekly with targeted text. Hey teacher, this selected of students have not yet submitted assignments on time but are engaging with the course. Perhaps they could use some external learning support. Meanwhile, these students who haven't submitted aren't engaging might benefit from mentoring support to talk through time management. So you see how it kind of takes the two data points and tailors the message. But again, that's not an agent. At best, it's a recurring workflow. It's following a fixed path that someone designed. Again, the line is blurry. Nick, do you have any automations in your daily practice?
Automations, yes. AI enhanced workflows, yes. Nothing quite agentic yet. Ali K. Miller has talked about this being the year they come, and anything prior has been more the former, as you mentioned. It's sort of the GPT level thing, or maybe integrating with like a Zapier or a Make or something like that. The one that you mentioned in terms of the LMS engagement data sounds fantastic in terms of that. The at point of failure, at point of needed support, boom, here's the resource, that just in time thing, which is great. Yeah, we play with a few of these. I'm really looking forward to seeing more of what Copilot does in this space. Copilot Studio has some fun things, and integrating with other things that we have in, say, the Microsoft universe. You mentioned at the top just how embedded this is getting into all of this, and you've got that arms race, the classic Microsoft Google arms race to see who gets there first. So nothing yet, but I'm working on it. I'm working on it. Hopefully next time I'll have a better report.
Well, let me dish you up a framework that might help when you start to build these properly, because I have the answer to what agents are. The framework comes from, and he's just explained it to me in the most simple way possible, Jeff Su, Google Product Manager and Productivity Expert. To be clear, not every agent is a React agent. That's what we're going to be talking about today is React agents. It's a good starting point for understanding. The re portion of React stands for reasoning. This is where you give your agent a goal. The agent steps through that using logic, breaking tasks into step by step stages, plan, research, draft. Then we get to the act part of React, where it uses tools that has available to complete that goal. The most important step of what makes an agent is iteration and a circular feedback loop. Did the result have the intended outcome? Did it hit the goal? No, let's try again. Let's run through every step until we get there properly. Andrew Ng, a founder of deep learning, broke down agentic workflow further into 4 steps and something you can take into your regular prompting for an LLM. Reflection. The agent evaluates its own work in progress. Tool use. The agent leverages various tools to accomplish tasks. Planning. The agent breaks down complex goals into manageable steps. And multi-iteration. The agent keeps trying until it succeeds. AKA, if it's not working, try it again. A simple chatbot just responds to prompts. An AI workflow follows a predetermined path, but an AI agent reasons about a goal, takes actions using tools, and reflects on the results, and keeps trying different approaches until it succeeds. The dream of AI agents is true autonomy. The AI determines what it can iterate on and where it can take steps without human intervention. It doesn't just iterate, it adapts and adjusts the workflow dynamically. But the reality right now, most agents, in my opinion, are LLMs with pre-built prompts, basic automations with AI components, multi-step workflows that still require significant human oversight, which is good. So if you're borrowing from an agentic workflow, maybe add reflection into how you respond to these. So, or as I like to call it, did you proofread this? So sometimes when they give you things back, you're like, hang on, even I know that's wrong. For anyone who's played with coding platforms inside Gemini or Claude, I often copy paste. Check the code carefully for correctness, style, and efficiency. Give constructive criticism of how to improve it, and execute it. Connect your tools. I'm going to put a big asterisk here because connecting your tools isn't always a good thing. So connect your tools carefully, but acknowledging what they're connecting, what data they're bringing in from those tools. When you're prompting, design for iteration. Instead of one-shotting prompts, although you might feel really great when you do it, build in feedback loops and build in points to kind of iterate it a little bit and start small. Don't do the whole thing first. Maybe design individual parts of what you're trying to prompt as you go. Next time someone tells you that they built an AI agent, ask yourself, does it reason? Does it use tools? Does it iterate until it succeeds? Or is it just a fancy chatbot with a predetermined workflow? The true era of AI agents is definitely coming, but like most technological revolutions, the hype is probably running a little bit ahead of the reality. Which leads me to talk about Microsoft CEO. And Nick, I've got bad news. We've lost a listener already.
Oh no.
Satya Nadella, self-described email typist and Microsoft CEO, has had 2 weeks of headlines. So he had the Build conference this week, and a week prior to that, he called out that he actually no longer listens to podcasts, but he's instead downloading transcripts and uploading into Copilot to have conversations with them. At least Satya is still technically counting towards our download numbers, whether you're listening with your actual ears like a traditional human or feeding us into Copilot like a certain Microsoft CEO. We do appreciate you being here.
Yeah, look, so we started this podcast because we know how fast things work in the AI space and how much this is impacting HE. If you want to stay ahead of the curve, continue being that human in the loop, hit the subscribe button.
Subscribing means you'll always get these conversations delivered straight to your feed, before the AI transcripts hit university servers anyway. All right, back to the deep dive.
So let's start by setting the record straight. When it comes to the generative AI revolution currently engulfing us, Google are the original architects of so much of this. They are the true OGs. They literally invented the transformer model, the very engine driving this enormous amounts of this entire, this just Cambrian explosion of AI. and their DeepMind division, founded by giants like Demis Hassabis and Mustafa Suleyman, now CEO of Microsoft AI, was the tip of the spear of so much of this. So specifically, we're talking, Dale, you might remember AlphaGo in 2016.
Mm.
This was an AI that didn't just play Go. Itself, again, so complex it makes chess look like tic-tac-toe and lots of crosses. It destroyed humans, the best humans in the field, and made it look easy. In the process, just completely upending our understanding of AI's potential. After that came AlphaFold. So this is all about highly complex science. Just won't even pretend to understand. But essentially, this AI can predict the shape of proteins, so the very building blocks of matter, and so what these proteins do and how they interact with other molecules. What took PhD students with labs years is now a weekend job. Apparently, it's so good at this that in the 5 or so years it's been out, it's done the work of if you like, traditional human and
Mm.
powerful computer setup back in the AI prehistory of 2021, 2022. It's done what would have been hundreds of millions of years of work. Just absolutely extraordinary. That's just subjectively insane. I mean, AlphaGo, AlphaFold, these are exponential leaps. And my little monkey brain just can't keep up with it. I mean, Dale, the AlphaFold thing is just absolutely nuts, isn't it? When AI can compress scientific work from hundreds of millions of years of humans' effort down to basically one. What does that say to you about the traditional role of the university in terms of long-term ground-up research and beyond that, training future scientists?
Ooh, it's a big one. Yes, agreed. I actually can't comprehend it, but it does probably position back to what the type of work universities do. So maybe it changes it from what are the implications of this? What are the ethics of this? And keeping it human, I think, is what we probably want to do, or at least understand what it looks like to be co-intelligent. Maybe it's things like how do scientists identify blind spots? What does it look like when future scientists need to frame problems with AI systems to kind of validate their output? So it does change things a lot, but oh, yeah, the mind boggles.
And I mean, all of this just made Google's like very public, I mean, snafus in 2023, early 2024, all the more jarring. I'm sure you remember like Bard's embarrassing launch,
Mm,
just an instant business case study for premature product demos. Basically, their lead ad gave just a stupid, easily verifiably incorrect answer about the James Webb Telescope and planets outside the solar systems, wiped out 9%, 100 billion from Alphabet's total value in overnight. Just incredible. And then 5 minutes later, Gemini's image generation tools just missed the mark spectacularly. Quote, missed the mark spectacularly. Knowing that AI had or has bias problems, Google overcorrected, giving us images of racially diverse Nazis, among a wide range of other bizarre things. Cue big public apologies and a scramble by Google to fix what appeared to be a significant overcorrection. And for a moment, the giant seemed to stumble. But
mm.
then anyone who thought those fumbles signaled a lasting decline was missing form, because this year's Google I/O was a statement. The giant is not just awake, it's operating at full throttle, and it's just unleashing an absolute fire hose of AI across its entire ecosystem. This is AI becoming ambient, accessible, and deeply integrated into tools that students and faculty use every single day. Not to mention their long-standing and enormous deals in and of themselves, like AI in complex systems, like synchronous translation in Google Translate, Waymo for autonomous vehicles, etc., etc., etc. So Dale, with this absolute deluge of AI that Google just dumped on us at I/O, which of these developments strikes you as the most immediately disruptive for the day-to-day reality of teaching and learning in unis right now?
I look at it from the it's almost Wikipedia 2.0. It's not going to be from Wikipedia, but it'll be summarized from Wikipedia. So one to consider there. I think I appreciate their synth ID and embedding what AI video looks like. Inventing a way to flag where something's been is an AI video, AI piece of content. I think that's going to become really really important across the board when people are creating content that is synthetic and we perhaps don't know because some of those VO3 examples, they're scary real.
All of these things have been driven by people until now, and with the arrival of something known as AlphaFold. And before we get into this, I want to give a shout out to Carlo Iacono of Charles Sturt University, genuinely one of the absolute most incisive commentators and thought leaders out there in the AI and higher ed space. Carlo has a wonderful knack for separating signal from noise, and very much worth a follow, worth checking out. Because, case in point, in an excellent piece titled While We Debate Prompts, AI is Building Itself, Carlo makes the case to truly understand where Google and AI itself is heading. We need to look beyond even these impressive consumer facing deployments, just we mentioned at the top. The real earth shaker is work like AlphaEvolve. And this isn't just another application. It is a DeepMind evolutionary coding agent that is independently advancing human knowledge and recursively improving itself. Machines improving machines, this is straight out of Terminator. This stuff where AI is building itself and genuinely advancing fundamental knowledge beyond current human reach, right? What kind of existential questions, beyond the dread, what kind of questions does this raise for you about the future role of human researchers and the very definition of discovery expertise that universities are supposed to cultivate?
If you're still with us, listeners, we're in the deep end now because I think it gets to the point of what does discovery even mean anymore? Because we're like full sci fi territory and we consider what happens when humans aren't at the top of the knowledge food chain anymore. Epistemic humility 101 may be a course we all need to take one day. What I mean hereby is how to work with knowledge that kind of surpasses our own understanding. But it does get you thinking. Do we continue to kind of preserve the human ways of thinking and knowing that we start to continue to use intuition, creativity, ethical reasoning? Or do we just kind of lump in with the bots? Do we embrace training that allows humans to partner with these systems? As always, I think the answer probably lies somewhere in the middle for me, but proof will be in the pudding.
Yeah, no, well said, well said. I think you're probably right. That point in the middle is probably where the truth will out. But I mean, again, just to really put scale to this, AlphaEvolve is crushing long-standing maths problems that humans haven't been able to crack since the late 60s, okay? In the process, optimizing its own computing resources, even tweaking its own chips. And I kind of puts it really well. While most of us, he says, fiddle with chatbots, argue about authenticity, Google DeepMind has developed an AI that writes its own algorithms and improves itself. Okay. This is a company that created the foundational AI architecture. And even after some pretty high profile mistakes, it's now demonstrating that AI not only goes deep into every tool we use, but is also independently pushing the boundaries of science, accelerating its own evolution. I mean, what on earth could go wrong there?
It'll be fine, guys. Don't worry.
We'll
It'll
be
be fine.
fine. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Plug it in. We sweet. Push play. But equally pressing, equally pressing. There's this dual reality, right? I mean, we have these powerful everyday applications coming into our day-to-day lives, the emergence of AI as an independent agent discovery. What does this mean for HE's fundamental value proposition? Are our current institutional strategies, more often than not, running a year behind date in the space if we're lucky, if we're talking about that AI plagiarism piece? Are they even remotely equipped to prepare students for a world being reshaped by AI that can literally iterate, improve, and build upon itself? And I know I sound very Debbie Downer on this. I'm not. I'm attempting to communicate the scale of this. This demands a far deeper, more urgent conversation within our unis than the one we seem to be having. Absolutely love the provocations being put forward in the Australasian AI and higher education space, by the way, like some fantastic thought leadership happening in there. Carlo, Thomas, Phil, Danny, please do keep it up.
Let's finish off with something fun. Popular video game Fortnite bought in an AI assistant powered by Google's Gemini this week. It was Darth Vader, and Nick, I've scored us an interview.
So now you are a broadcaster apprentice. I trust this podcast is not mere rebel propaganda intended to bore our enemies into submission.
I was blown away by, I mean, a Sith Lord taking the time out from his day to come in and have a chat with us. Like, he had some controversial takes, but I mean, I always enjoy a hot take from someone. Is he a Sith Lord? I'm getting
I
my
don't know what he is. It took me a long time just to stop calling me Spider-Man, and I tried to be like,
yeah,
hey, listen, can you call me Dale? Can you refer to my friend
yeah,
Nick?
yeah.
All in all, he just wanted us to keep fighting the rebels. The most interesting part of this was just how much patching needed to happen on the go. Within an hour or so, the socials across X and other platforms had Vader being pretty much jailbroken. He was being racist, he was glitching, he was swearing, and much, much more. I'm going to give it to Epic and Google because it was powered off Gemini. They were running so fast to patch up holes and bugs as fast as they could. I personally think it became a little more on rails by the end of it. But still, it's pretty cool. On one hand, for me, this feels a little bit like when you could get Samuel Jackson to give you GPS instructions, but think of a history class when you could be speaking to Napoleon, or a marketing degree that's written in the voice of Scott Galloway.ai. Use cases like this are pretty exciting.
I mean, I'm signing up immediately if Prof G is teaching a marketing course, right? Like, I want to hear this. Like, White Lotus gave me a little fix of it, but not enough. You need to see the man himself as well. This sort of brings to mind the TikTok feeds where you had Kim Kardashian, Taylor Swift in that teaching derivative calculus. We'll make sure to put that in the show notes as well because
Mm.
in terms of that, learning from your heroes, how how incentivizing, how motivating for people, for students.
Very exciting. Well, listeners, thank you for listening. If you haven't already, please leave us a review, share around within your network, and most of all, hit that subscribe button on whatever platform you are on. We'd love to tell you what's on next week's episode, but it's a world that moves way too fast. So for now, you just have to tune in. Until then, stay curious, stay intelligent, and continue being the human in the loop. All the best.
So